live from New York. It's Ask This Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to yet another Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Ask Engineer show. Me, Lady Ada, here at the Adafruit factory, where we do all of our design, testing, prototyping, manufacturing, shipping, support, all the stuff that you love from Adafruit, the electronics that make your dreams glow and shine. With me is Mr. Lady Ada, wearing Adafruit black. As always, doing this every week, non-stop. Right. The longest running live electronics show. We got a full hour packed of exciting news and products and videos, updates, and more. We're super excited to get into it.
Yes.
Why don't you tell them what's on tonight's show, Mr. Lady Ada?
On tonight's show, the code is Trifoil, 10% off in the Adafruit store, all the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Gets you 10% off everything except for AdaBox and gift certificates. It supports us, an open source hardware company here in New York City. You want to support us so we can keep doing these shows. And you can save a few bucks on checkout by using that code. Show and tell, people around the world showing and sharing their projects. Lady Ada will talk about those projects and more. Pack and mailbag will stop by. We'll read your letters to us. Time travel, some news and more going on in the world. Makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. Made in New York City, some factory footage and more here from the Adafruit factory. 3D printing, some videos we got. New products. Got some really cool top secret this week.
Oh, we got so much top secret.
Yeah. We'll answer your questions in the chat over on Discord. Make sure to go to adafruit.it.
Go and register.
Discord. Go get
How many people do we have on Discord? So it's 7,000?
Yeah.
20,000?
Almost 8,000.
5 billion?
That's where you want to be.
Go.
And
join in.
At the end, we're going to give something away. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so let's pay some bills.
Yeah.
On checkout, you get free stuff.
We do.
Yep.
We have free stuff. Let me tell you all about it. $99 or more, you get a free Permaproto half-size breadboard. That's that white thing over there on the side. Looks just like a half-size breadboard. You can take your projects and transfer them over. These are so handy. Whenever we go to events and maker fairs, people are using them in their projects to make permanent prototypes. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping. We'll talk more about our shipping. But UPS ground shipping is the best way to ship in the continental U.S. It's trackable. You'll actually get it on time. It's insured. So $199 or more, your shipment goes free with our best shipment method ever. $299 or more, we have a free Circuit Playground Express, our all-in-one board, great for doing projects in MakeCode, code.org, CS Discoveries, CircuitPython, or even Arduino. You got all sorts of choices using like the 25 different sensors and LEDs built into the board. Great for wearables and projects. We have a powerful processor too. So at every level you get everything from the previous levels. So spend $299 and you'll get all that you see here.
And of course, these are shipping options. We suggest UPS ground for the USA. Postal will take a little bit longer. And then DHL for international sales through customs, prepaid, and more. You want to do that in Manhattan. If you check out before 11 a.m., we have same-day delivery handy for ad agencies, workshops, and more. That's who uses it a lot. Okay, Lady Ada every week on
Show and Tell.
Show and Tell. People around the world show and share their projects.
That is true.
7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Mm-hmm. This week, what was on the Show and Tell?
I would love to tell you. I'll tell you why I love the Show and Tell. This was one of my favorite Show and Tells. I say that every week. But this week we had people showing projects and thanking other people who were in the Show and Tell for the code. It's like it worked out. Like people did open source hardware and software released code, and then other people used that code to make something cool.
Well, sometimes when you get interviewed, a lot of the questions are like, do you go shoe shopping too? Like some of the questions are kind of crummy.
Prada or Gap?
Well, yeah, I don't know what they ask you those questions, but one of the questions like, where do you get your ideas from? And it's kind of a standard question, but we always say like, hey, watch the Show and Tell. If you watch the Show and Tell, a lot of the product ideas that come from Adafruit, like we'll see people make projects, share it with us, and then sometimes if there's like a hard part of it, or if they need to do something with a lot of LEDs, we're like, oh, we could probably make a product to make that easier.
And we do.
Or they did something, or they bought something that was really expensive. We're like, oh, we could probably make something easier and lower cost for them.
Yeah.
Or there's something that was closed source, and we're like, oh, we can probably make that something that's open source. So that's really the answer is you get what you give. You know, the more you give, the more you get.
That's so true.
So yeah.
The love you take is equal to love you make.
Yeah, and with open source, Because we get asked this a lot. This is another. Aren't you worried about giving away stuff? Well, here, it's that other phrase, like, just you can light a candle with another candle. It doesn't diminish the flame from the other candle.
That's a good one.
And that's what it's like for open source. It's like we get to see all this stuff. It doesn't, just because we gave something away, it doesn't diminish what we did. It means that more people get to use it.
And then some people are scared. They're like, what if I put this open hardware software into the world? What will happen? And as the Bene Gesserit said, fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
You'd say, oh my
Well,
God,
we've
that
seen
one,
more
sure.
instances of maker companies that are closed source that have counterfeiting issues and problem issues with the people who buy it than the open source community. It's
Yeah.
coincidental, maybe, but it seems like when you build a community and you share, there's more people involved and they want to support it and help out. So what was on the show and tell?
All right, so let me get to what I was totally distracted,
Yeah,
but
that's what we do.
that's fine. It's good. It's good. We talk about stuff. We got Phil B, who's comes by once in a while, shows some LEDs, and sometimes shows old computers. Phil B is collecting old computers that are thin enough to put in shadow boxes on the wall. And this week's computer was the Atari 800 XL. And the XL stands for full of worms, because when he got it from a thrift store, it was full of worms, like literally worms. So he cleaned those out, and he did a great job. It's beautiful. You can show in the show and tell. It's gorgeous. It looks brand new, completely restored. And he also talked about how to debug RAM chips on your Atari. He had 2 bad RAM chips, but he talked about how to debug it. Turns out you just put your finger on it.
Yeah, it turns out the ones, when it locks up, they get warm, and then you just pop them off, and then you can go online and get the replacement
And
chips.
the chips are
and you replace it, and it was just done.
The chips have been identical for like 30 years. You can still buy
Yeah.
these chips. And then Pedro showed off this week's 3D Hangouts project. We'll also show the video and talk about the guide. It's a rack and pinion toy. It's a kind of mesmerizing little robot toy that goes back and forth with a rack and pinion. It's also a good demonstration of a pretty useful mechanical element. JP previewed tomorrow's JP's workshop project, which is going to be a neon sign using our new LED neon strips. So you don't have to get high voltage or glass or argon tubes. You can do it for a couple bucks. And some Darlington transistors. If you've been curious about how to use Darlington transistors or power transistors, check in tomorrow. He'll show how to use those with MakeCode and CircuitPython. And Scott S from CircuitPython team is doing internationalization of CircuitPython. This is an interesting idea that we were really inspired by Nick Toll's work in the Mu editor. It's a wonderful editor we use, and it has internationalization. So if you want to be in French or Spanish or Chinese, it has the ability to translate all the menus and warnings and errors and suggestions and dialog boxes into those languages. It has internationalization support, and we thought it would be really cool to add that to CircuitPython as well. So he's added the software backend support to internationalization, is now looking for volunteers, people who speak multiple languages. Or maybe you know Dothraki or Klingon. Whatever. We have a volunteer right now for one language, but we're looking for more. And of course, even if we have someone who's a volunteer, it's always good to have 2 people. So because some of these terms are technical, you might have to discuss with another person, figure out the best translation. Please check out the CircuitPython Weekly on Discord, or go to Discord right now to CircuitPython and say, hey, I know this language, I'd love to sign up, and Scott would help
we'll
you
get some
out.
posts out. We'll also put this in the newsletter, and then we'll specifically, as we're getting teach language, we'll say, hey, this is where we can use some help.
Yeah, it'll be super cool. So you can, you know, the keywords like the for, if will still be in English or Latin. You can use Latin for your characters, but the strings and messages as you are running the code and using it will be in a native language. JMK came by with an update and a review of the 150 milliamp hour battery, LiPo battery for the GEM M0. 1, fits perfectly on the back, so that's a plus. 2, it lasted 12 hours, longer than expected. And 3, it worked great. So I think JMK gave this a check plus, a thumbs up approval of the 150 LiPo battery. And we'll be coming back next week with a 3D print of this necklace that he's working on. Bryce and friend are working on a lab coat for DragonCon. It has like 600 or 800 pixels on it. He's using the NeoPixelate library that Phil B wrote. So it's an 8 strands NeoPixels DMA control from a Feather M0. So really great if you are wanting to make a lab coat with a lot of LED strips. And talked about some other options because they didn't really want to go with the Raspberry Pi or Fade Candy. They wanted to be all in one. So it was good that we released that code and that hardware a couple weeks ago. And then another Scott came by with his web admin skull. So he's a web administrator, and he has a skull with eyes that warns him if one of his services is down. This is, I think, is way better than Pingdom, which just sends you an email. This, I want a skull.
Yeah. This was a remake. He brought this by a long time ago, and it was an Arduino project.
Oh, Raspberry Pi, yeah.
And like us, he's remaking his projects in CircuitPython.
And he's doing it.
We've been doing that as well.
He's learning the ESP8266 and MQTT and CircuitPython. He says he loves it so far.
Yeah.
And he's going to write up the build, because I think every web admin needs a skull to tell them how their service is doing. I mean, I think that's exactly. I can't imagine a floating skull is just like, your email server's down. Skull. Anyway, so that was a show and tell.
Okay. All participants on the show and tell get an SCN on the show and tell sticker. Email support@adafruit.com, and we will send you out one. It's part of our Adafruit live series of shows. Tomorrow, John Park's workshop. Tune in, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. JP had some Lego drawing projects last week.
Yeah.
And we have some footage from it, so I'm going to play those.
Take it away.
Alright, and Pack Mailbags and stop by. We read these emails to our entire company every week at State of the Fruit. This one is from Danielle. I just want to say thanks for your website. I recently started creating wearable glow items for my friends, and my love for LEDs landed me on your site. I appreciate all the information, instructables, and products that you guys offer. I will be placing an order soon as I decide what I want to make for lightning in a bottle. Thank you, Danielle.
Awesome.
All right.
Start them early, get them glowing.
Don't forget, we're on adafruit.it/Discord. You should stop over there now because we're going to be answering questions at the end of the show. Make Code Minute, we do this every single week. And here is this week's Make Code Minute with JP.
What I wanted to talk about today in Make Code is one of the most fundamental things, and that is using buttons. So if you look over here in the left, we have this input section, and there's this one block on button A, click. So I've set one of those down and then changed its drop-down menus, and I'm going to talk about what those are. But these are these two buttons that are built right onto the board. So there's two little micro buttons. You can use those. And the ways you can use them, if you look at this block, it's got a lot going on. We've got buttons A and B, or button A plus B. So those are three different ways you can use those buttons physically. And then the behavior they exhibit is based on either a click, which is down and up, a long click, which is holding it and then releasing it for a little bit longer time. I'll say first the down, makes more sense, and then the up. So those are different states. So right now, the way I have this programmed, on button A, down, it's going to go red. So I click it, it goes red. And then when I release it, it goes to blue. So that's this basic button A down is red, and button A up is blue. Now button B I have set up, so when I press it and release it, that's the click, it goes to yellow. And that's right here, this button B click goes to yellow. Now when I do a long click, I'm going to click and hold, and then release, it goes to magenta. And then the last thing I'll do is I'm going to pull out, I'm just going to delete these for a second here. Goodbye, goodbye, and goodbye. And then I'm going to duplicate this one and change it to a button AB click, and that'll give us a different color. How about, say, blue? So I'm going to download that to the board. Okay, so now it's on there, and if I press A, I get the red, and if I press A and B together, I get blue. So that is today's MakeCode Minute.
And that's our MakeCode Minute. If you have a Circuit Playground Express, go to makecode.adafruit.com, plug it in, take it for its spin. It's super fun. And you can also try maker.makecode.com.
Yes,
and
next week's project will be a maker one.
And you can try other boards.
What's interesting is you see, what I like about that MakeCode Minute is it's deceptively simple. You're like, oh, it's just buttons, right? You click, but if you notice, with the threading and the background capabilities of this, the real-time operating system, the embed codal operating system, stuff that is actually usually quite difficult to do with Arduino or even CircuitPython, having multiple threads of control based on how many buttons you click and how long you're holding them down for, that stuff is really hard, but MakeCode makes it very easy. So you'd be surprised, like MakeCode is drag and drop blocks, but it's quite powerful underneath for making interactive projects.
Okay. Some CircuitPython news of the week. Guess what?
Is it awesome?
Well, CircuitPython is officially awesome.
Yay, we're officially awesome.
It's officially awesome. So this is, there's a really handy list on GitHub. It's curated, and it's handy links, and it has to be very specific on what's in there.
The form has to be good quality. It has to be awesome.
Yeah, so I started this list, and I tried to get everything in CircuitPython possible, and then I had our team help out, and then we submitted, then the maintainer went on break, but then they came back, and as long as we were able to review other awesome lists, we could get ours in. So we got ours in.
And we reviewed two lists.
Jupiter and
Microbit, which are like friends of ours. So that's cool. Like we helped them out and got gave them suggestions on how to make their list more awesome. And hopefully then they'll review two more, and then before you know it, everything will be awesome.
Yeah. So you can look on GitHub. You can look for awesome CircuitPython. It's also in our newsletter, Adafruit Daily. Sign up for Python and microcontrollers, and we just put that resource in there, and that's where we have most of the news that we do every single week, and we also try to get it up in the blog. That's probably where we'll have the call for translations and more. So if you like Python, you like hardware, this is quickly becoming one of our more popular newsletters.
And we put good stuff in there. Not only is it updated guides, news from us, but it's news from around the Python world. You'll learn a lot. Anything I see that's really interesting about Python or hardware simulation, I send it over, so you'll know a lot about the Python ecosystem as well as MicroPython.
Yeah, I put lots of stuff in there that's found nowhere else.
Yeah, you're not. It's sometimes we don't even blog it because it's too. You're like, maybe it's not bloggable. It's like a photo from somebody's Instagram, but we'll put it in the guide, the newsletter.
Okay, time travel. A couple news items going on. We'll look to the future and the past. Well, it's back to school month. Sorry, kids, got to go back at some time.
I know.
Yeah, so back to school month, look for all the posts on our site and more. And then a little bit of history. Here's some Russian news that isn't bad.
Svetlana Yevgenyeva.
Yeah, Sadovskaya. Russian cosmonaut and aerospace engineer, first woman to walk in space in 1984, and first woman to make 2 trips into space. Before her, Russian cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova had been the first woman in space in 1963. This woman became the second woman in space on August 1982 on the Soyuz T-7 spacecraft to the Salyut 7 space station. Her second flight was to the space station. Here's something kind of cool about her. Earlier in her life, she'd been an aviator, set 18 women's world records, won a world aerobatics competition in 1970, and from 1976 she was a test pilot and joined the Russian space program in 1980.
That's cool.
I liked it when all the Russian stuff was like who got into space more and who did more stuff in space. I miss those days.
Yay!
Yeah, so that's time travel for this week. Open source hardware. We're an open source hardware company. We have got the guides to prove it.
Yeah.
We have 1,535 guides. Lady Ada, what is on the big board this week?
Look at us rocking out. We got 4 guides this week, but they're good guides. We've got from John Park, the Cricut harmonic drawing machine. You just saw some really cool animated GIFs. You can make cool like spirography shapes with this. It's all built with Lego Technics. So one of the cool things that we've done is made a bunch of, put a lot of products in the store as well as released some 3D printed projects, so you can take your Cricut, our easy-to-use robotics platform, and interface the robots, servos parts with Lego, because Lego, they're really good quality parts, and although the Mindstorm is a little expensive, the gears and the axles and the little Technic pieces are pretty inexpensive, and if you go to a Lego store, you can often just buy one-off pieces. You don't have to buy a full set. So this is a Lego drawing machine. We'll probably be doing a lot more Lego projects and drawing machines, but we're going to start with a simple one that JP did a really nice build with, and you saw that cool animation from the Lego. There's some software that will like render your Lego for you. You got the rack and pinion robot, little friend that goes back and forth, kind of a cute desk toy, but also a great 3D print project and a good project to test out your motors and make code. I'll show a video for that. Dave Estelle's has 2 guides this week. One is CircuitPython 101 functions. This is a really in-depth guide. It's meant for CircuitPython, but of course it's good for just Python use only. What are Python functions? When do you use them? How can you use them? And some tips and tricks on how to get the most out of your functions with default arguments, lambdas, scope management, returning multiple values at once, something you can't do in C, which is super cool about Python. So check out the CircuitPython 101. He also built a cool project that we requested. You saw from a Maker Faire a robot that used hand motion to control it. This one has a 2-wheeled rover and with a Circuit Playground Cricut controlling it, just like the bumper bot from JP's old project. And then on the wrist, on the glove, on the wrist, you can attach another Circuit Playground and use the accelerometer to detect the tilt of your hand. So depending on how you move your hand, if you tilt it to the left or the right, or you tell it to stop or move forward, the infrared transmitter on the Circuit Playground in your hand will beam to the little rover bot and tell it to control. So you get to actually kind of move this robot just by twisting your hand around. So check out the animated GIF because it gives you a really good idea of what you're getting, but it's super fun. And a great project where you don't want to have a cell phone or something to control the robot. You have a more intuitive interface. And Circuit Playground has infrared receive and transmit, so this is a perfect wireless control example.
Okay. Good work, Dave. He's in the chat.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
2 epic guides.
All right, next up. We have some main New York City factory footage. Here's a couple of sounds. Okay, and we have some other things. Here's a photo of our furnace.
Some nice solder pasting, so that's with the paste put on the Fona 808 breakouts.
This is kind of a coming soon.
Oh, it's not out yet. Don't ask.
I know, but
I wonder what it is.
Well,
you could read the text on it.
It's a Cricut hat.
Oh.
It's a Cricut for Raspberry Pi. This is gonna be a top seller.
There's going to be some cool stuff that we
Yeah.
snuck in here that the other Cricuts don't have, so stay tuned. This is some paste.
Some paste.
This is what it's like to open a new
Yeah.
jar of paste. Delicious.
Here is...
These are the supports that are on the stencil machine, and what's cool is you can program them, and so of course, draw some icons.
Here's Andy, our Director of Manufacturing, and Adabot and AR.
Yes.
Our AR app. And one of our projects, the Harriet Tubman Stamp for Money, was and is going to be included in a museum. So therefore, it's real art.
Yay! That's how you know it's art. It's in a museum.
Yeah, and we had to make another one. So we got some special rubber for laser engraving.
I like how it says that on there.
It's special rubber for laser engraving.
But it comes out really great.
And yeah, so this is used to
test it out.
Yeah, stamp. Boop. There you go.
Perfect.
Yep. All right, and as always, here is a sunset right outside the windows of the pick-and-place machines. Okay, 3D printing. I have a 3D printing movie from Noah and Pedro. This is from the project they showed on the show and tell, the Rack Opinion.
Yes.
Desk Toy.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Hey, what's up guys? In this project, we'll show you how we built this hypnotic gear mechanism. This is called a reciprocating rack and pinion, and it's a mechanism used for converting rotary motion into linear motion. We used Adafruit's Cricut and Circuitpython Express to drive a DC motor and change the speed of the gear. When this wheel rotates, the teeth engage the lower track and travels the length of the slot. When it reaches the end, it clears the track and catches the upper part, allowing it to run back and forth. We used Adafruit MakeCode to program a simple speed controller using the buttons on the Circuitpython Express. With the Cricut extension, you can program motor blocks and change the motor speed using variables and the on-action code blocks. We can also play with the NeoPixels to light up and change brightness. We designed the mechanism in Autodesk Fusion 360. The assembly is made up of components that are parametrically driven. This CAD animation demonstrates how all the pieces fit together. The design source is free to download so you can build your own. The links are in the description. We prototyped the mechanism using chipboard. Chipboard is a material that's easy to work with and can be cut using a laser cutter or a vinyl cutter. With a vinyl cutter, we were able to make very precise gears and tracks. This helped us prototype larger parts and iterate more quickly. The wheel is secured to a hub and spindle with a machine screw. The two parts are keyed and press fit together. The drive hub assembly travels the length of the slot. It's also made from two separate pieces. The center of the spindle features a threaded insert that was heat pressed with the tip of a soldering iron. This is a great technique for making perfect screw threads in 3D printed parts. Two machine screws secure the spindle to the drive hub together with these hex nuts. The shaft of the motor is press fitted into the center of the hole. Here's the drive hub in motion connected to the DC motor. The motor housing is secured with two long screws and hex nuts. A third screw is threaded through the tab, making it really tight and secure. The drive hub assembly is press fitted into the shaft of the motor. It needs to have a tight tolerance in order to stay secured. The wheels key onto the tip of the spindle and it's able to turn the gears in the DC motor. When it's secured, you get very little wobble and a nice and steady rotation. The eyes can pop in and out of the sockets without having to use glue, which I think is a nice feature. The track assembly is made up of 3 plates that are held together with screws. They're secured with hex nuts on the back. These screws are quite long and fasten through all 3 plates. The feet stands feature 2 mounting tabs that clip onto the plates. With the screws removed, you can see how the plates are stacked together. The track fits over the base plate and the motor track goes behind. The Cricut is secured to our 3D printed mount with machine screws, and we put this together in a previous project. The wires from the motor are secured to the screw block terminals on the motor section of the Cricut board. You can use jumper cable extensions to extend the motor wiring. This way you can easily connect the wires from the motor. This AA battery pack is secured to the bottom of the mount with more machine screws. The DC barrel connector plugs directly into the jack on the Adafruit Cricut. A full step-by-step tutorial for this project can be found on the Adafruit Learning System. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more 3D printed projects from Adafruit.
forget every Wednesday 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro, where you can learn how to make all this stuff. Some news in the world of AdaBox. So we have subscriptions open again for AdaBox 9. It's Halloween themed. You should get on it because we want to make sure we can ship these out as fast as possible. So we're going to cut off subscriptions at a certain point.
Yep.
They're still open right now, but they won't be very soon.
And
That's why
every
we're-
AdaBox, there's always somebody who says, I waited, and I was going to sign up, and then I saw subscriptions are closed. Can you squeeze me in? We can't. Once
Yeah.
they're closed, like, that's it. We only
that's
have so many, so.
Okay, and a reminder, if you want to get a newsletter with all the new products each week instead of watching the show or going to the website, you can do that. Just go to your account and sign up for it. It's the only one that's possible to get through your account, and we don't automatically sign you up. We don't have those pop-ups that show up that everyone hates.
But in exchange, we just tell you
Yeah,
now.
just go and
Here's
you'll
how
have
you
to
can
find
do
it.
it.
It's in your
Yeah.
account to turn it on and get that. Okay, Lady Ada.
Yeah.
You want to do this?
New, 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 new. New, 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 new.
All right.
New, 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 new. Okay.
We have an update.
Okay, this is an updated product. This is the Pi Protector, the Raspberry Pi 2, 3, and 3B+. The update is now, if you look at here, stop here, you can see, oh, you know what, actually, let me show it on the overhead because I have it up high 3, so it's hard to see 'cause it's clear.
Yeah.
So on the overhead, I can show it real fast. We now have this cut out so that it works with the Raspberry Pi 3B+. You can see there's the little PoE 4-pin connector. Well, that was in the way before, but now it's not because we have added a cutout. So we have these back in stock, and they now work. They back work with all the Raspberry Pi 2B+. You know, any of the ones with the 2x20 connector. Now they even work with the 3B+. Wow, amazing! Pi Protect.
All right, next up. We had some of these last week, but we got
We did more, yeah. Last week we did the 5-pin one. These are 3-pin ones. I've gotten better at explaining them. Each one of these connectors with the 3 latches, if you plug 3 wires in, it basically connects them all together as one. But it's great for high current. It can do like, I think it's like 20 or 30 or 40 amps, hundreds of volts. These are really great quality like wire nuts. Basically, it's a lot better than trying to solder wires together and then heat shrinking them because it protects them. You just strip the wire, you lift the latch up, you put the wire in, you close it. I can show it on the overhead. These are great. These are so popular, especially for people doing, because they're very high power, they're very popular for people doing LED wiring where you have a lot of LED strips. You have to share the power, share the ground. And people are like, how do I do that? Do I use a breadboard? Well, breadboards, like they're flaky, and they're not good for loose wires like this. So here, you can lift all of them up, like so, and then wires easily get removed, and then you can put the wire back in and close it. And so you can do up to 3 wires on this one, and then we also have a set of 5. So yeah, super handy for high power wiring, and they're so compact, and they're translucent, and you can see this is the bus bar. This is the part that they all get connected to. Big chunk of metal. So you know it's good. All stainless, UL listed, amazing. Even says the wire gauge on the side. Wago makes great stuff. These are high quality.
All right.
Best.
This is all for the fans out there.
Yeah. Big fan. All right, we got this fan. That's why the code is trifoil. This is a 3-legged, 3-armed, I don't know, whatever, 3 whatevers fan. And it has a 2mm connector, and it goes onto, not our TT motors, because they don't spin that fast anyways. They go onto our DC hobby fans. And almost every, whoa, hold on, give me a little bit more space here. Almost every DC motor has a 2mm axle, so these will work really well. And they spin, they blow, and you can probably use them as a basic generator too. If you have something windy, it'll generate electricity as well. They kind of look a little bit like those wind generators.
Yeah, this is fun. When I was doing the projects for Cricut, you can have a little bubble wand.
Yeah.
Turn this on, and it can blow the bubbles.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
spin air. It can it can like rotate some stuff. I don't know, kind of fun. I mean, we use it for a fan because it's what it looks best at.
Yeah.
But you could also put it on a paddle boat or something. It could probably spin some paddles, or if it's light enough, it can move air. It's not going to be strong enough for a drone, but it's kind of the same idea. There's a fan.
Yeah.
Three legs, trifoil. And let's say you're like, well, I want more things that spin on motors.
Yeah, let me show the photos here.
You're in luck. We have these. These were in AdaBox 8. These are the paddle wheels. So they're paddle wheels. You know, you can use them for moving water. But I'll tell you what I think they're actually great for is they're just, you know, large plastic pieces that attach onto a TT motor.
Yeah. This is good for getting things to move around.
And it's just, you get a lot of attachment points. It's just like you can glue, you can hot glue, you can foam tape, you can zip tie. You have so much surface area. We get 3 different ones. They actually also have a 2mm. They have a double axle here. So let's see, maybe this fits on the other. Yeah, so you can have it also spin on your DC motor. So you can have this kind of high speed. Spin. They're nice and balanced too. Does generate a little bit of wind. Or you can put them on your TT gearbox motors for stronger motion. You can see it does paddle. It has a little bit of paddling. Not good for like robot wheels. Like I guess you could kind of make it into a wheel that rotates like this if you want to pull something along. But we have rubber tire wheels that'll work a lot better. So you get 3 different sizes. You can also maybe turn these into gears somehow. You know, there are these latch parts that stick out, so you could gear something up with them. But some accessories for your TT motors and your DC gearbox motors and your DC motors. Okay. All right, next up.
All right, next up.
Time for matrix keypads. So we've actually, I kind of noticed we didn't have these in the store, so I went and got some good samples. These are nice quality plastic 4x4, and we also have 3x4 matrices. So this is a 4x4, and it's multiplex, so you need 8 microcontroller pins. We have Arduino code example, and there's also a CircuitPython library.
4.
And we also have the 3x4.
Right.
Same idea, except this is more like a normal keypad. It doesn't have the A, B, C, D. And really easy to use. You just have to, you know, scan the rows and scan the columns and see what's pressed. Not meant for like when you press a ton of buttons at once. For that you want like something like a trellis, but good if you just want to enter in numbers, like a passcode or configuring the speed of something.
I got this type.
Huh?
You got this type or this type?
Yeah, 2 types.
Okay.
And then on the overhead, I can show them off really quickly. Yeah, you got these plastic buttons just like on a keypad. They come with some header. You'll solder it on, or you can solder in wires. This one has 7 pins, 3 columns, 4 rows, and this one has 8 pins for 4 columns, 4 rows, for the 1, 4, 7 row, and then the 1, 2, 3 row. And that's just an example code for the feather. All it does is read the key code and print it out, so you can go press numbers to your heart's content. But they're really great, and they have little mounting nubs too if you really want to attach them to a faceplate. So cool if you want to enter in numbers easily. Maybe some letters as well.
Okay. Next up.
Oh, we got the Chibiscope. We got 2 Chibi items from Chibitronics. Chibitronics is a collaboration between Jay Chi, who's designed some amazing electronics, Benny Wang, who helps her with some of the manufacturing. He's an expert at that. And this is the Chibiscope, and this is, you think it's like, oh, it's a kid's toy. It looks like a Tamagotchi. It's not. This is actually a really powerful electronic tool, which you'll probably use even if you're not using the Chibitronics. So let me show it on the overhead. So it's pretty simple. You've got 3 pads: ground, 5-volt, and TXT. But TXT text is also just input. So I have it hooked up here to powering off of a Chibi clip. And then this pin, this is like an oscilloscope mode. So if I connect it up to this pin, you can see it's showing me the PWM of that LED. You can watch this white LED. And then you can see the PWM on the oscilloscope, the OLED, matches, which is pretty amazing. And it has a bunch of modes. So that's text mode. I don't have something that has a 9600 baud text, but if you do have 9600 baud text, you would get ASCII text printed out here. And then you have volt mode, which is kind of what you think. It's like a multimeter. So it'll take the average voltage. So you got multimeter, oscilloscope, and text display all in one, and then you just press this button to change which mode you want. So this is a really handy tool in a really nice plastic case with this button. So I think it's just useful for anybody who wants to do projects where they want to debug it, but maybe they don't need a full oscilloscope. For the price, you get quite a lot, and it's a 1.3-inch OLED, 128 by 64 pixels, and yeah, you just alligator clip it on, and you're golden. So a great debugging tool for beginners or for experts.
This is handy.
Very handy.
Pocketable.
Yeah, it's like so round and friendly.
Yeah.
Okay, next up from Chibi,
That's right.
we've got this starter kit. So if you've heard about Chibitronics and you want to play with, this clip that you can program with MakeCode with your mobile phone, and you can make LEDs blink. There's also sensor inputs, and you want to follow along with Fern the frog through the storybook. We now have a pack that gets you the book that teaches you all about programming in a really friendly, fun way. It's a very child-friendly. A young person could follow along. You get the Chibi chip, which you can clip onto the pages, and there's some projects where you clip it on and then you put copper tape down to build the project. And then you also get some copper tape and 36 LEDs. So you get a ton in this book, and it's everything you need. You don't need anything else. You've got the full kit. So I know we've got all the little individual pieces. We've got just the clip, just the chip, just the copper tape, just the LEDs. But if you want to give a gift for somebody, I think this will be very popular for the holidays, or for back to school. This is everything you need, and it's specifically designed for young kids or people who are, they want to learn programming and they want something easy, something that's simple with drag and drop block programming. So a kid who has experience with Scratch or is learning Scratch will also like to use the Love to Code. So check out, we have a whole range of the Chibitronics products. This is just the all-in-one starter kit.
Okay, and the starter of the show tonight, besides our community and Ulay data, is this. This is a mega update.
This is a mega update. It's an updated project, but it's so updated that I figure it's a new product. This is product 802, so it's quite an old one.
Yeah.
This is a 1.8-inch TFT shield. Turned out that the joystick we were using got discontinued. That's the old one. And since the old old joystick got discontinued, we're like, well, you know what? Let's just redesign the whole thing. So we added 3 buttons, ABC at the bottom. We have a new, bigger joystick. We made it R3 compatible, so now it works with the Arduino Mega and Zero and Due and all that good stuff. And we also stuck a Seesaw chip on there to handle the backlight and the buttons. There's 8 buttons altogether, the 5-way navigation switch, and 3 tactile buttons. So that's all handled over I2C with Seesaw, which means that you only need 4 or 5 pins total plus I2C to have a full user interface with a TFT screen. So I thought I can show this off on the overhead. So yeah, this is actually showing it on a Metro M4. That's my favorite new Metro. So you've got this joystick in this demo. As I move it up, down, left, right, and select, you see it detects it. It does all that over I2C, so you don't have to use individual pins for those buttons. And then down here we have A, B, and C buttons. And this code, when it's done, it will read from the SD card and display a picture of Adabot. So this now works with all the different Arduinos. It's the same screen, but a newer, easier to use joystick and 3 buttons and Seesaw. Same price, but you get much, much more, and it's, I think, a much better shield that we'll be able to get it working in CircuitPython as well as Arduino, and we'll work with all Arduino compatibles, whereas the previous version we had only worked with the Uno and the Metro 328. So a big upgrade for this adorable little shield. Gives you a nice 1.8-inch color screen and a full user interface you can play around with.
Okay, and with that, Lady Ada, those are new products.
Yay! We had so much new.
All right, ready for New product recap.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
New recap.
Okay.
We have an update to the Raspberry Pi Pi Protector. It now works with the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus. Got to cut out for that PoE header. We got an update to these WAGO blocks. 3 pins go in. They all connect together. Great for high current, high power applications. We've got this trifoil fan. Stick it on your DC motor, and now things are blowing. From AdaBox 8, we've got these triple pack of paddle wheels. Goes on a TT motor or a DC motor. Great for attaching things to your motor. A lot of surface area attachment points. We've got a 4x4 keypad matrix, and we also have a 3x4 keypad matrix. These are really easy to use. We've got example code for them if you want to enter numbers into your project. The Chibiscope is a 3-in-1. You get an oscilloscope, a multimeter, and a serial text monitor with alligator clips. Great for use with Chibi or other electronics. And the Love to Code starter kit. Everything you need to get started with Chibitronics. 36 LEDs, Chibi chip, clip, copper tape, the book, everything, so you can learn to code pretty much no matter what age. And a big update to the 1.8-inch TFT Shield. Now features Seesaw, has more I/O pins, still 1.8-inch TFT screen. Works with every Arduino and compatible. That's what's new.
Okie dokie. Don't forget, if you want to buy some of this stuff and support us, Adafruit, Trifoil, that's the code. All the way up to 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yes.
We have some top secret. Let's do that before some questions.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Hold on, let me grab my.
Yeah. First up, here is a preview of the Circuit Playground Express case that we're working on.
This is a model by Mike Dole, rendered by Noah and Pedro, so it's a collab.
Yep.
I don't know if the buttons are going to be pink, but they look pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see. And then this kind of speaks for itself. And in case you're wondering, this is the upcoming microbit Cricket.
Yeah, there's the microbit. Slots in just like an old arcade cartridge, and then here's our make code. We've got the make code library all working, so it's so easy to get steppers, servos, DC motors. You can see there a servo DC motor on the side. There's a unipolar stepper, capacitive touch, NeoPixel, everything you need.
And then this is video. Maybe we'll also show it live, but this is from my desk in case we didn't have time to do the demo. But
Yeah, well, you never know. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I can show it off. This is coming very soon. It's a feather wing for the Feather M0 and M4. Look at all those LEDs. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Looks like, look, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
No, it's just here. So this is just one of our demos for the 32x32. And got a little bit of wiring here, but we can move this aside. Plugs into the Feather, and you can power if you put 5 volts in. You've got your Feather M0 or M4. This is a M0 basic, but it'll work with any Feather M0, M4. You plug it in. There's only, we use, our library allows you to pretty much select any pin you want, which is great. So you can configure what pins you want to use. And it just draws onto these RGB matrices really easy. And you can take advantage of all the Arduino code we've written for these boards. And it's nice and portable. I'm also going to make it so that you can plug it directly in. If you solder the Feather on top, you'll be able to plug it right in so it kind of sits on the back without having to have this cable. But I don't have that demo set up right now.
All right.
So we'll show this off soon. It'll be a new product before you know it.
Back in the vault.
Get back in the vault.
All right. If you want to ask us questions, go to Discord.
I'm ready to answer them.
Yeah, you're going to go to adafruit.it/discord and answer. You're going to answer the questions. People
I'm going to
ask
answer.
questions.
Well, sometimes you answer if it's.
Yeah, we're both going to answer it. Does Feather work with make code?
It does. The Feather M0 line does work with make code. If you go to maker.makecode.com, it's beta, but it does work. You can use it with a breadboard. Not all the peripherals that we have on the Feather M0s work. For example, we don't have a Bluetooth library for make code or Wi-Fi. But the GPIO and buttons and LEDs and some NeoPixels and stuff, all the stuff that works with CircuitPython and microbit will also show up in the Maker code as well.
Okay. person says they're having lots of fun with AdaBox 8. One issue,
Yay.
not getting 170 degrees out of the servos with the block code angle, but can with pulse. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is one of the, check out the Make It Move guide from Mike Borella because we actually cover this. It's a common question that people bump into. Servos, even though they can move 180 degrees, the pulse widths are not standardized. And we when you're using the angle, we don't want to assume, because each servo is a little different, what the widths are. So for the servos we have in the shop, the Tower Pros, they do have 180 degree movement if you use 500 to 2500 microsecond pulses. But when you use angle, because we don't know what servo you're using, we kind of are more conservative. So you might only get like 100 degrees, maybe 120 degrees. So if you want that wide range, just use the pulses. And if you're using CircuitPython, you can configure the library to tell it what's the minimum and maximum pulse. In MakeCode, just use the set pulse to get that full range.
What is the current requirement for the Chibiscope? Wondering how small of a LiPo I could use.
You know, I don't know, but I'm going to guess it's probably about 30 milliamps because it's got an OLED on it, and those are about like 10 milliamps, and it's got a microcontroller, which is maybe about 20. So I think about 30 total.
All right. This is a good question. Any plans for a mega-style board with the more powerful SAMD51 variants? Now that most form factors are covered, follow up to that SAMD51 with Ethernet.
The SAMD51 with Ethernet, I'll say I'm actually probably not going to do that. I'll tell you why. Because people have asked. The reason is that you'd have to have the full TCP/IP stack for the Ethernet. It's actually easier to just plug in Ethernet shield. But for the mega version, we're actually in the design stage right now.
Yeah.
Maybe later this week we might have, it's not out yet, or a leak. I don't know, hang out on Discord is where we release the leaks.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have a mega-like entity with the latest chips.
Yeah, but probably not the Ethernet soon, just because I'm telling you, every time I've seen a chip company that's like, hey, we have a built-in Mac PHY, or a built-in Mac, you still have to get the PHY, which costs a couple bucks, and then you have to have the whole TCP/IP stack. In the end, it's like, you know what, just use a WizNet chip, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay. Some nice shout-outs for the microbit cricket people are looking forward to.
Yeah, I know. I just had to finish doing all the testing and getting that MakeCode library going, because the microbit MakeCode is a little bit different than the Circuit Playground MakeCode. It's a different version and whatever. We had to get some stuff working, but I finished testing, and I sent boards out. So in a couple weeks, we'll get the microbit cricket, and that'll be super cool.
Mega Entity isn't a name. I like that one too. I thought of some terrible names for the next Mega.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I was currently thinking of Grand Central.
Any plans for expanding Crickline to cover even more aspects of robotics, such as high-powered robotics? Yeah, we'll probably leave that to the folks who are working
there are
on
people who are doing that. I think what I like about Cricket, you can read my Cricket manifesto, is it's a little bit of everything, but it's not the most intense everything. Like it doesn't do brushed motors. It's not going to be able to build a drone.
Well,
it's not going to do.
It'll just price everybody out. There's not a focus on high performance, low cost robotics. There isn't anyone working. That's our job.
It's tough when you're like, okay, take a $15 microbit and now build a $300 robot. That's a
yeah. So what we're doing is we're focusing on the low cost, easy to use market, high performance things with MakeCode and CircuitPython. And then for like really advanced stuff, folks are going to gravitate towards really expensive solutions. Like I'm going to make a big dog.
Get them started with the Cricket, and once they get a feel for how DC motors work and how servos work, they can always upgrade to some bigger and better project. But I want to get people comfortable with robotics the way we've done with electronics, and to do that, I think having something rugged and reliable and simple is the best way.
Yeah. EL wire question. EL wire runs off AC power, and the voltage seems to be fairly close to what using US power mains, depending on who you ask, but from what I've seen, the frequency is much higher. So what effects does AC frequency have on EL wire? As noted, I do not recommend attempting to plug into main powers. Please don't burn down your house. What a curious question.
You can. It'll just be really dim.
Yeah.
But you want it to be like I think 1,000 to 5,000 hertz. You're just not going to get it be very bright unless you have that high frequency. That's why we have the EL inverters. They're going off batteries. Some of them have 12-volt power, and you can use a 12-volt adapter and then use that to generate that high frequency that you need.
Okay, then let's see. Any plan to carry snap connectors that support larger cable like 10 AWG?
Yeah, these wagglers are what I got, but check DigiKey for bigger connectors. We're not going to have every. These are what I see people using the most. If you're using 10 gauge, you're doing something pretty hefty. We do have a bus bar that can handle, I think, down to like 6 gauge. And I think it's in the store. It's called like the bus. It's a plastic bus bar with 10 holes, and you just really clamp it down. But it's not going to be like these Wago blocks, which are very small and elegant.
Okay, those are the questions.
Okay.
What do you want to give away this week?
Today I'm going to give away a Chibi Scope.
Chibiscope. Okay.
That's so handy.
What are the rules? And can put the phone under the.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to put the phone under the
What
thing.
are the rules?
Rules are if you've won something before, you can't win again. Only one winner per my lifetime. So if you won something, let somebody else win. We have a lot of people who want something. The first person to call the phone number when it appears on the screen will be who calls the phone number and I pick up and answers the 3 magic questions will be the winner. The 3 magic questions are what's your name, where you're calling from, and what's a project you've worked on or you want to work on. If you get that far, I will award you a Chibi Scope product 3901. So call this number right now. The Radio Shack phone's going to ring. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to say hello. Maybe turn off your computer audio. I'm going to ask you those 3 questions. The toughest part is actually getting people to not hang up on me. So don't hang up on me.
Let's answer a question while we're waiting for folks to call.
Yeah.
What size battery we need to run a 7-segment? Oh, sorry.
Nope.
Phone's
Nope.
ringing. We'll get back to that question.
We'll get back to it. Okay, it's ringing twice. You ready?
Yeah, pick it up.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Did I win?
Hi. Yeah, you have to say hello. Hi, you reached Ask Engineer and you're the winner. Congratulations for calling the phone number. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Alex Munoz, and I'm calling from Northern Virginia.
Okay, Alex from Northern Virginia. Well, congratulations. We're going to send you a free Chibi Scope. So great job calling that phone number. All you have to do is email support@adafruit.com, SUPPORT @adafruit.com, and say, hey, it's Alex from North Virginia, and I've got a product number 3901. That way they know what to...
3901?
3901, exactly. And what's a project you're working on or you want to work on?
A door security system with a camera for the Arduino.
Oh, cool. Well, a security camera for Arduino is a great project, and I think a Chibi Scope will come in handy as you're debugging your project. So, yeah, congratulations on winning. Email support@Adafruit, and we'll send you out your prize as soon as possible.
Thank you.
All right, good night, Alex.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, and we'll squeeze in one more question.
Okay, what's that question?
That came from another one. So what size battery we need to run a 7-segment H16K33
Yeah.
backpack? And if they're on 0 for about 5 hours running as a timer, they want to make a bingo timer run on a battery.
You know, I think a 500 milliamp hour LiPo will be plenty. I think you could probably even go less, but 500 milliamp hour is a very popular size that we stock. Those backpacks don't use a ton of power, so I think you can get away with that.
Yeah.
Try it out, but test before you know, it's always good to test it before you take it to your bingo parlor, because you never know. So just have it sit there and just go through a bunch of random numbers and see how long it lasts, just to make sure it lasts 5 hours, because I hate if it was like in the heat of the bingo and the power dies. I would feel so bad that I suggested a 500 milliamp hour battery.
All right.
All right, thanks everybody.
That's our show for tonight this week. The code is trifoil. Don't forget to use that before 11:59 p.m. These are all the folks that you help out and keep us in business when you buy something on checkout.
And you get 10% off.
Yeah, save $1
What a
too.
deal.
We'll see everybody next week. Thank you to all the remote team members out there, all the folks that are helping run the chats, the community out there. We're almost up to 8,000 people on Discord. Thank you so much for making this a really good example of what communities could be.
Yes.
You know, we all watch the news and everything. There's lots of separation and there's lots of lines being divided. But this is one place where everyone gets together and they share things and they make things. Everyone makes something, and that's a way that everyone can come together. So thanks for being a good example out there.
Thanks, everybody.
People are like, oh, Twitter's garbage and all these other communities are garbage and this is garbage, because they're not building something together, they're not making something together, and I think that's the difference. So good work, everyone. Thanks for doing that. And thanks for for team members here in New York City. And we'll see everybody next week.
Yep.
Same time, 7:30 for show and tell, and 8 p.m. for Ask
But
an
if you
Engineer.
want to hang out with engineers and makers and chat about stuff, go to Discord. 24 hours a day, 7
Yep.
days a week. People
And-
making, crafting, sharing.
Yeah, we pop in there and we show some top secret stuff and more. It's the only place. And you can always sign up for our newsletters and check out the blog. We're there all the time.
And don't forget JP's workshop tomorrow.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Good
Here
night.
is your moment of Zener.